Hello and welcome. My name's Andy Crook and I'm your host for tonight's training topic, Profit, the Secret of Success. Every week I go live to deliver a training topic on one of the 5 pillars of business as I see it. This is how I fulfill my mission to help garage owners become more successful in business. It's simply by providing free training topics, little 15-minute videos most weeks on one of the 5 pillars of business. This week we're in the financial pillar and we're talking about profit. So without further ado, let's get on with today's training topic, Profit, the Secret of Success, or Profit is Not a Dirty Word. Some garage owners hesitate to embrace profit, viewing it as something shameful. However, this perspective misunderstands profit's crucial role in creating a sustainable business. Profit isn't a dirty word, it's the essential fuel that powers business growth, enables investment and funds ongoing development, whether that be staff or owners development. Join me as I explore how being profitable is actually a social responsibility, enabling stable employment, community investment and initiatives. Ultimately, profit doesn't detract from service quality, it makes excellence possible. Profit is in fact the secret of success. What we're going to cover in tonight's training topic is we're going to break things down as per usual into little clusters of 3s. You know 3 is my favourite number. And we're going to talk about what is profit. We're going to explain how to become profitable and then why it matters. And then we're going to look at the 3 types of profit, the 3 mechanisms of profit, and 3 ways to invest profit in your business. We're going to look at separating owner's compensation away from profit. We're going to look at 3 ways to increase the average invoice value and 3 ways profit serves your local community. And as always, we'll end with the atomic action for this week. The atomic action is what step you should take if anything in today's training topic has resonated with you. This in my business, there's always a little hint at the end. So we'll start with what is profit and then how to become profitable. They sort of roll into one really. Profit is the second tier of the business hierarchy of needs. Mike Michalowicz wrote a book called Fix This Next. He basically identified, like Maslow identified the human hierarchy of needs, what Mike did is he looked at the business hierarchy of needs. And this is something that I feel is an excellent foundation for anyone looking to improve their business. It gives you levels or tiers at which to work your business on. You should always start at the lowest level tier. The tiers that Mike Michalowicz identified were sales, profit, order, impact, and legacy. Profit is clearly the second of those tiers. So how do you become profitable? Becoming profitable is really quite simple. You just have to make sure that your revenue or turnover, the money coming into the business, is greater than your costs and expenses, the money leaving the business. That's all there is to it. It sounds simple because in reality it should be simple. However, we all know that it's not that simple. And that's why we're doing a training topic on it. But why does it matter? Well, it's your social responsibility to be profitable, to support the community you serve with employment, community investment and initiatives. If you're not profitable, your business will stop operating. And that doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve any staff that you have, and it doesn't serve the community in which you operate. It's essential to be profitable for the business's sake, but it's also a social responsibility. So let's move on to the 3 types of profit. The 3 types of profit, as identified in generally accepted accounting practices, are gross profit, operating profit, and net profit. So gross profit is your revenue, the money coming into the business, minus the variable costs. So the costs that are associated with doing that work and solely those costs. Gross profit helps assess the basic viability of your core business operations. Gross profit is usually the highest percentage profit out of them all. In a garage business, your gross profit will be quite a large percentage of your revenue, because what we're looking at here is the cost of doing that work. We're not taking in account our fixed costs, which tend to be quite high in a garage business. So the operating profit is your gross profit minus your fixed costs. Operating profit assesses how well the business is managing its regular operations. Our operating profit drops that gross profit percentage down quite a lot in a typical garage business because we have a lot of fixed costs. It's an area you can look at your business and try and improve, but generally speaking, there's not a lot you can do. Well, you can fiddle with it a bit, but there's not a lot you can do. We have quite high fixed costs. A sector of industry, it goes with the territory. Net profit is the operating profit minus interest, taxes, and one-time expenses. So it's the operating profit minus everything else. Net profit represents the true financial gain of the business. It's what's left when everybody else has had their slice, effectively. That's the net profit. So 3 types of profit. Gross profit, so that's revenue minus variable costs. Operating costs are gross profit minus your fixed costs, and net profit is the operating profit minus everything else, interest, taxes, and one-time expenses. So they're the 3 types of profit. Interestingly, when you do your profit and loss accounting reports, you can see those 3 profits clearly on the form. When you fill in the sheet, it's easy to see which one is which. So what are the 3 mechanisms of profit? How do we get more profit? There are 3 ways to do it. You can increase the number of sales, increase the sales value, or reduce your costs. So let's look at those very quickly in turn. Increasing the number of sales is limited by your ability to attract customers and the capacity of the garage. Once capacity is reached, the other mechanism available to you then becomes increasing the sales value. So let's go over that quickly again. So if you want to increase the number of sales, what's limiting this part of your business is your ability to attract and convert customers. If you can do that, you can get as many customers and they all want to buy from you. The thing that then limits the number of sales is the capacity of the garage. How much work can you actually do? Once capacity is reached, what we need to look at to increase profit is to increase the sales value. If we go back to the hierarchy of needs from Mike McCallowitz, the first level is sales and the second level is profit. So you need a minimum number of sales to get going, but what we're talking about here is the profit tier, where we're getting more sales up to the capacity of the business. We can keep increasing the number of sales until we get to capacity, and then we have to do something else. Buy another premises, extend, whatever it is, we have to extend the capacity. If we can't do that, we're stuck at the capacity we're at. The next mechanism available to us is increasing the sales value. And increasing the average invoice value has infinite possibilities. So the best thing about increasing the sales value is there are no limits. You can decide how much you charge within reason in a second. But the third mechanism of profit is to reduce your costs. Keeping an eye on the cost of doing business is essential, but you can only reduce costs by so much. Penny pinching here can affect the quality of your goods and services. However, most businesses will be able to find some cost savings, and 10% is realistic. You could even find more, but what we don't a habit of reducing the quality or type of goods and services to try and save money. And if you think about it, if you were to reduce all your costs to 0, once you've done that, you can't reduce them anymore anyway. So there's a finite amount you can reduce costs by. Our fixed costs as garages, when you operate a garage, your fixed costs, they're a chunk of your operating profit, because we've got all this stuff that we need and we have to comply with various legal requirements, and all of that stuff adds up, and ultimately there is a limit to how much you can reduce how much that costs you. So While increasing the number of sales is great until you reach the capacity of the business, increasing sales value is, if you like, infinite. You can keep on going as long as, and we'll discuss what that is. There is a limit, but in theory there isn't. Reducing costs has a limit. You could reduce all your costs to zero, but once you get there you can't really reduce them anymore. But in reality you'll never be able to do that. And if you were able to reduce your costs this year 10% over last year, with inflation you're probably doing a great job of identifying where those cost savings are. So the next piece we're going to talk about is the 3 ways to invest profit in your business. So the first thing you can invest in is tools and equipment. And then you're going to invest in staff and training, and then savings and investments. Let's look at those 3 in turn. When it comes to investing in tools and equipment within your business, you should already know what tools and equipment you need. Because if you've been following these training topics along, you should be identifying during your staff meetings why jobs have gone wrong. So every time you have something that doesn't go as well as it should have, that is an opportunity to learn. In garage land, if a job hasn't gone well for whatever reason, and the desired outcome wasn't, shall we say, optimal, then there is 3 areas where it could have gone wrong. It can be knowledge, equipment, or behaviour. If the person has identified a training need, i.e. the knowledge or skills weren't satisfactory, that's why things went wrong. You've identified a training need, fantastic. If it's information or equipment, you didn't have the right tools or didn't have the right equipment to do the job, that's something you can put right. And obviously if it's behaviour, that's also something you can rectify. They're the 3 areas that can go wrong, and you should be identifying. If you routinely are identifying we need one of these widgets to fix these particular cars and they're coming in frequently, then that's probably the first thing you should buy. Once you've identified a training need, you can invest in training. That's the second area you can invest in. So you can invest in your staff by more training. You can invest in staff by hiring. Training has by far the best return on investment because it pays back forever. Once someone starts training and has learned something, it's very difficult to unlearn it. By going on training and hanging around with other people who are invested in their staff and in their business, you develop better habits and attitudes. Training by far has the highest ROI of all things you can invest in your garage. When it comes to hiring staff, once you're profitable, you can start looking at who's going to be our next hire. You can actually build in a bit of redundancy. You can have a member of staff that you don't need to employ urgently. Normally what happens is a knee-jerk reaction. We need a member of staff, and go out and you pick one straight off the street and you put them in your business. You hope they're going to fit. Because generally we hire once there becomes a need. But if we're profitable and we're doing really well, we can hire before there's a need, and we can build in an element of redundancy. And if we can hire for a time in the future, what I call kingpin redundancy, we identify a key role, an A-star player within the business, we can start to train up the person that's going to take some of that work from them. Now that person is normally, in the early stages, one of the business owners. You're going to start to train someone to do some of the work that the business owner currently does. Now that might mean someone comes in at basement level and everyone goes up a floor. So a bit like the dodgems, the next dodgem on the rank pushes all the other dodgems forward. Ultimately someone is being promoted into a role by bringing someone in at the bottom. But what's beautiful about doing that way is the training cascades down. So you're not relying on training someone at the top to fill a big gap. You're relying on everyone to train the next level down. Investing in staff as well as staff training. And then finally, savings and investments. If your business is in profit, you'll have money in the bank. But you don't want cash in the bank any more than around about 6 months operating costs. Once you get above about 6 months operating costs, that amount of money in the bank is probably going down in value due to inflation. And then when you get to that level, it doesn't even have to be that much. 6 months is quite a large chunk of money for most businesses. Somewhere between 3 and 6 months of liquid cash, i.e. cash you can just whip out of the bank should you need to, is as much as you should have. After that, you should be investing. And what should you be investing in? Well, you have to invest where you beat inflation. It's as simple as that. So things like your pension, gold, silver, property, Bitcoin, whatever it is that you fancy you can beat inflation with, that's where you should be investing that money. The two things to consider really are beating inflation and the liquidity of the money. So if you do need to get it out, how long is it before you can realize that asset? You would need a strategy that gives you some real long-term investments, money that you're basically locking away for possibly until you retire. You're going to look sort of mid-term investments and some investments where there's a degree of liquidity, just in case something goes wrong and you need to get some of that money. But remember, you will always have 3 to 6 months operating costs sat in the savings account anyway. That's the 3 ways to invest in your business. Which takes us neatly to the next topic, which is the owner's compensation. And differentiating between profit and the salary or drawing of the owners is essential. Decoupling owner's remuneration from profit ensure that the owner's personal needs are always met. Profit distribution fuels the growth and sustainability of the business, while owner's compensation ensures that owners are justly rewarded. The size of the reward should be proportional to the success of the business. Once the owners have satisfied their lifestyle needs, they can then invest any surplus income. Same as the business, once you have more money than you need, you can start investing as the owner. Not the business investing, now the owner investing. Simple as that. We'll go back to the topic. You can increase your average invoice value almost infinitively, but you can't, because there is something you've got to consider, and that is the principle of fair exchange. There must always be fair exchange. The 3 ways to increase your average invoice value are these. You can increase your labour rate, increase your parts margin, or you can deliver more value. Each one of those allows you to put your prices up in a way that you can always have fair exchange. Remember, the price is what you pay and value is what you get. If the price paid is equal to the value received, or more importantly, the perceived value received, then you have fair exchange. And I'll give you an example of how you can increase the perceived value for little or no cost within your business. You can explicitly outline the warranties and guarantees that you provide. Now, most of these are legal requirements, but unless you stress them and make them obvious to the customer, they're only implied. This is a simple way of making their decision about going forward with the work a little bit easier, because you're guaranteeing them and warrantying the work. So that's one I like. You can delight them when they open their boot necks by having either your logo, the brand of their vehicle logo, vacuumed into their boot carpet or their floor mats. Very easy to do if you have a vacuum cleaner and some templates. Remember how you meet and greet and how you complete and retreat. If you want to find out more, look at the peak and end rule training topic. We talk about meet and greeting, completing and retreating on that one. Make sure all your certificates are on the wall. Create that authority. Make sure everyone's wearing branded and clean workwear. Simple things you can do with very little cost that increase the perceived value are things like give the customer a small bottle of washer fluid or a de-icer or an air freshener, depending on the time of year, when they are leaving. Don't leave it in the car. Actually physically give it to them. Make a point of it. Makes all the difference in terms of perceived value. They're just a couple of examples of how you can increase the perceived value of your products and services for little or no extra cost. You can increase the price points to match, so you always get fair exchange. 3 ways that being profitable serves your community. Being profitable is a social responsibility. Here's a perspective that many of you probably don't consider. When your business is profitable, you can maintain the highest safety standards that protect both your employees and your customers. You're not cutting corners to save costs because you're profitable. Therefore, you can maintain the highest safety standards, which is possibly the most important thing. You can provide stable, well-paying jobs to the local population. You can take on apprentices, which benefits the local population, the youngsters locally, or the olders locally, because you can have an apprentice up to any age nowadays. But it also benefits the local college because they're not searching around for placements. They've built another business in their network of providers. You can employ other local businesses such as cleaners, laundrettes, printers, accountants, bookkeepers, and the list goes on, where you can employ other local businesses. You can contribute more to your local economy through community involvement, sponsorship of events, sports teams and the like, and invest in environmentally friendly equipment and practices. You can be the trailblazer for low carbon fuels and how that looks in your area. But consider the alternative. A garage struggling to make ends meet might be tempted to cut corners on parts quality, rush repairs, or defer critical equipment maintenance. This not only compromises safety, but ultimately leads to higher costs for customers through repeated repairs and vehicle problems. Embrace profit in your business, invest profit wisely, and everyone benefits. The atomic action for this week is consider 3 ways to increase the perceived value of your products and services. Then increase your prices in line with the principle of fair exchange. Thanks for listening. Hope this has been of some benefit, and I hope to see you again next time.